Greetings. It's Wednesday, September the 11th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Article Podcast. I'm Chris Elkins, narrating today's article, written by Denison Forum co-founder and CEO, Dr. Jim Denison. Last night's presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump began with a handshake, quote, but descended into acrimony as the candidates traded barbs, reports the Wall Street Journal. In an Instagram post to her 283 million followers after the debate, Taylor Swift endorsed Ms. Harris for president. After the debate, the Democrats' campaign announced their desire for a second meeting with Mr. Trump. Whatever your thoughts on the debate in Philadelphia, we can agree that it demonstrated democracy at work. By contrast, the supreme leader of Iran, the, quote, world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, is unaccountable to the nation he supposedly serves, and no such debates occur in Saudi Arabia, where 15 of the 9/11 terrorists originated. September 11th is appropriately known as Patriot Day in memory of those who were killed on 9/11. Flags will fly at half-staff today at the White House and all U.S. government buildings and establishments throughout the world. We are encouraged to display flags inside and outside our homes today as well. And a moment of silence will be observed beginning at 8:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the time the first plane struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. On this very somber anniversary, as we remember the 2,977 innocent victims of the deadliest terrorist attack in U.S. history, we're reminded that our nation still faces enemies at war with democracy. From jihadists who would attack us at home and abroad, to cyber terrorists who would imperil our national infrastructures, to autocratic nuclear powers that would threaten our very future, none of us can be certain that there will never be another 9/11. In this light, I'd like to share some observations about a recent experience that left a deep impression on me. I have visited many veteran memorials over the years. Since my father served in World War II and his father in World War I, such places have always been deeply meaningful to me. Recently, my wife and I visited the Red River Valley Veterans Memorial Museum in Paris, Texas. Here we encountered a display provided by a family whose ancestors served in the Continental Army that liberated America from England, the Texas Army that liberated our state from Mexico, the Confederate Army during the Civil War, and the Coast Guard during the Korean War. Beneath their names are emblazoned the words, "Freedom is not inherited, it must be earned one generation at a time." Their sentiment echoes that of Ronald Reagan in his inaugural address as governor of California on January the 5th, 1967. Freedom is a fragile thing, and it is never more than one generation from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people, and those in world history who have known freedom and then lost it have never known it again. End quote. Millions of brave men and women are engaged today in defending our freedom at home and abroad. What can you and I do to join them? Benjamin Franklin, not typically known for personal piety or orthodox theology, nonetheless issued a memorable spiritual call to the President of the United States on June the 28th, 1787. He and his colleagues were gathered in Philadelphia to write a new constitution for their infant nation. In this context, Franklin asked that prayers imploring the assistance of heaven be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business. His reasoning? Quote, I believe that without God's concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided by our little partial local interests, our projects will be confounded, and we ourselves shall become a reproach and a byword down to future age. End quote. Mr. Franklin's request was not granted because the convention did not have the funds to pay ministers to deliver such invocations. However, his sentiment could not have been more biblical. The Lord warned his people in Jeremiah 17, verses 5 and 6. Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord. He is like a shrub in the desert and shall not see any good come. He shall dwell in the parched places of the wilderness, in an uninhabited salt land. By contrast, the Lord continued in verses 7 and 8. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is in the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green and is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. On this solemn day, let us pray for a spiritual and moral awakening that would make America a tree planted by water that does not fear when heat comes. Let us remember from Psalm 127, verse 1, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Who is building your house today?
North Texas Giving Day is coming up next week, and it's a crucial moment of the year for Denison Forum. In fact, North Texas Giving Day is always our single biggest day of giving. So we want to ask you to give generously on or before North Texas Giving Day to help provide biblically grounded and civil content that inspires, informs, and most importantly, transforms lives for Christ. And here's the best part. You don't have to live in North Texas to make a difference. Your support from wherever you are can double your impact thanks to a special $75,000 matching grant. You can give now by visiting thedailyarticle.org. That's thedailyarticle.org. Every gift helps guide more Christians through these challenging times with a steady, nonpartisan, and civil voice. Join us in making this North Texas Giving Day a powerful moment for our ministry and for our shared mission to reclaim our culture for Christ. Visit thedailyarticle.org today to give, knowing it will be doubled by the matching grant. Thank you for your generosity and partnership.